guys, welcome to I.N.T.E.N.T. I am your host Ronlin, and today we have Dionne with us. She's in Dubai. Dionne is South African working in Dubai. We're going to be discussing us embracing our traditions and cultures while living in a westernized society. Hi Dionne, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So we're just gonna get into it.
Okay.
So you can just give a little bit of a background, what led you to move abroad?
So I moved to Dubai about 4 years ago. Um, I didn't really have a plan to move to Dubai. It kind of happened, kind of like spur of the moment because I got an opportunity and then I just went for it. So a good friend of mine just decided that she was going to let me experience this because she lived in Dubai previously. So she left like right out of high school and she went to work in a hotel in Dubai and she really loved it. She was like the best thing that she could ever do for herself. And like I was living vicariously through her the whole time. And
Mm,
then when she came back to pursue her studies, she was like, dude, you need to do this. Like, you need to do this for yourself. Like, it's the best thing that you can possibly do is like move out of your city. So I was like,
mm,
I don't know if Dubai is for me. Like maybe in the future I can find someone that's more like some way that's more suited to my personality.
mm,
But then she was like, as life was progressing in South Africa, it became increasingly hard to find opportunities. And she was like, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna take your CV and I'm gonna apply for you. I'm gonna speak to my contacts in Dubai and just, you know, get this going for you.
mm,
So I got an opportunity to be interviewed at the same hotel she worked at. And then I just went for it. And eventually I got the offer. And then that's how I moved to Dubai. And then like literally 2 months later, I was in Dubai. It happened so quickly. But yeah, it was never like it was never like something that I planned or I worked towards. It just happened. Probably
mm.
God's plan, but yeah, that's how I ended up in
Definitely,
Dubai. So I've been working
definitely.
in Dubai for the past 4 years in hospitality. I have fallen in love with like the hotel industry, and I
Mm,
basically started from the bottom. Like my first job was in recreation assistant and now I work in marketing as marketing coordinator for Cluster Hotel. So I really had to like,
mm,
make ends meet, get to know, network with people and just, yeah, make it
mm.
work for me. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the past few years in Dubai.
Okay. And so now you've been there for 4 years. Now you've upgraded. You worked your way to being a marketing coordinator. But in the beginning, after your friend told you, you know what, there's a job for you, you need to move. Because you said it happened very quickly, like within 2 months.
Yeah,
How did you break it down to your family, to your parents that, listen, guys, I'm not only moving out of my hometown, but I'm moving out of the country? How did
yeah.
they take that news?
Luckily for me, like my parents are very open-minded. So they were very
Mm,
supportive. Like I really couldn't have done it without them. I definitely feel like if they opposed to it or if they were like, no, don't go, like it's dangerous or whatever. If they had some
mm,
like conflicting opinions, I would have probably have stayed at home. But they were really supportive and they
mm,
were like, do what you want to do. This is your life. We support whatever decisions you make. And that was kind
mm.
of how they have been my whole life. So it was no different for this decision. So yeah, it was nice to have that support. But it
I
was
think
really
it's because
hard. It was really hard. Like to leave my
that,
family and
mm,
not have that constant, because like the communities we come from, we're constantly around our family, around safe
mm,
spaces, and to go away from
mm,
that and live in a whole different country where, nobody and nothing, it was so difficult.
mm. But it's very brave of you. I commend you for making that move.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, in terms of them, you know, actually taking the news lightly and being like, you know what, go and pursue your dreams. I think it's because they trusted that whatever they instilled within you was good enough for them to be okay with you moving abroad and being so far away from them because it was like a confirmation for them to know that as parents they did their best and now it's time for you to fly and for them to see whether whatever they instilled within you is working within you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
definitely.
I think it's simply that because, as parents, I I strongly believe that the only way you'll actually see what type of parent you are or you were when your child is growing up is when they are an adult. That's when you'll see the fruits of your labor.
That is so
Um,
true. That is so true. Yeah.
yes, yes, and it's actually a privilege for you to have parents that are so open to the unknown. I'm not sure if you come from a family that is into traveling, that has traveled abroad, in terms of your parents or grandparents. Were they travelers? Were they people that like to explore the unknown, go beyond boundaries? If you can just
Yes.
elaborate on that.
So I do come from a very diverse family. So I'm quite mixed in my heritage, and my descendants are part of my descendants are from Scotland. The other part is Zulu, Sutu, and Japanese. So there's so much eclectic blood moving in my veins, and also my mom's side of the family were jet setters. Like my grandmother and her sisters, like they traveled Europe extensively. They've traveled Africa extensively. They were very much into like music, art, sculpture. So, they were always travelers. And I think my mom also saw that and she was like, okay, this is good because she went to Europe like from 16 years old. She traveled extensively as well. And I think she always wanted us to experience that. Like, even as kids, she would take us on trips. Like for her, it was a goal for both of my parents that we travel throughout Africa first. Like they made sure we went on vacations in South Africa and like travel within Africa. That was really important for them. Um, but yeah, so that's always something that's been there for us. And yeah, I'm grateful for that because I really feel like it opens your mind and you get to experience so many different cultures. Like I feel like I don't get as culture shocked as people would say because my parents exposed me to different cultures very young already. Like within South Africa, we have an amalgamation of different cultures already as it is. So you can get culture shocked within your own country. But I was exposed to a lot and I saw a lot of different things. Like I saw a lot of different cultures, the Indibele tribe where they have the stacks, the neck jewelry that
Yes.
adorns them. I was exposed to all of that. So I'm really grateful for that learning and guidance my parents, left with me.
Because it seems like it's really broadened your perspective of the world from a very young age.
Hmm.
So I also commend your parents on that, on allowing you guys to travel, not just abroad or within Africa, but also within South Africa. Because there's a lot of people that haven't been to other provinces or
Exactly.
haven't
Yeah.
been to other places, not even far from their hometown, like within,
Mhm.
a drive distance. Um, so yeah, that's so wonderful that
Yeah,
you
I'm
got
really
to
grateful,
explore.
honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
you got to
yeah.
explore the continent. I mean, yeah, that is amazing. Because I know for me, I was fortunate enough to to go on road trips like within South Africa. For me, that
Hmm.
was a big deal because growing up, there wasn't like within my family, there wasn't a lot of my family members that had that opportunity. So
Yeah.
it's also about breaking generational cycles, even if it's something small, even if it's from, for example, Joburg to Cape Town or Durban or Free
Or
State.
even a
It
beautiful
does,
place like Limpopo, like we forget we have these
yes,
beautiful gems and like we neglect it because
exactly.
it doesn't seem as
Anywhere,
extravagant.
yes, anywhere within South Africa. And also as parents, also helping our kids explore the way your parents did and the way my parents did. Your parents took it up a notch and they were like, passports, you're going to tell the continent.
Immediately.
Yes, and look at where it brought you. It brought you even a step further to say, no, we're going to go outside of the continent. And who knows, your kids might be just traveling globally,
Yeah.
every single continent. So it's also about how we plant seeds. We might think it's small, where it's like, oh no, my parents, we just went just another city, and then you take your kids out of the province. Their kids take them, out of the country or to a different country within the continent, and they could do you see how we
Hmm.
we plant small seeds and they end up being something so big. I mean, you in Dubai being a marketing coordinator. I mean, these are seeds that your grandparents and great grandparents planted that we may think it's a small thing, but in your blood to travel.
It's in my blood. And I love that you mentioned that because one of the philosophies I live by is that I am my ancestors' wildest things. Like they've been
Mm,
fighting, they've been, suppressed so much that this version of
mm,
me and what I'm able to do now is only because of them and God, of course.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I also believe I strongly believe that God places us in families that we are meant to be in, either to continue that generational blessing, well, it's both, to continue that generational blessing and also to break the generational curses.
Got it.
Um, so, yes, you are the people that you come from because God has brought them into your life. Um, yeah, that's very powerful. What you said, what you live by. It's a very powerful saying because I'm sure that it carries you through even your toughest times being away from family. What has
Yeah.
that been like? Because you've been away from family for 4 years in a different country. I'm sure in a different continent. I'm sure you've created your own little family there, but home will always be home. So
There's no
how do you
place
stay
like
in
home.
yes, how do you stay in touch with your roots? How do you cope, when emotionally you're drained and you're just feeling down?
So for me, like at first it was really hard, I'm not gonna lie. It was so, so, so challenging because I've never left my family before. Like I've never lived separately from my family. Um,
Mm,
I don't think I've ever spent more than 2 weeks away from my family. Like more than
yeah.
that, I've never, because we like super close. We do everything together. Like we hang out all the time. Like we find excuses to even hang out with each other. So for me coming here, it was like, it was like, what do I do with myself? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? It was so extremely lonely. And I remember for like 3 months while I was at work, I would go to the staff area and I would just cry, like to the locker rooms, and I would just cry my eyes out on my lunch break, and it was so painful, like being away from my family. And then, I was really grateful to have met some friends along the way. And I always say this, like, it was like, okay, what do you do? Like, it's very hard here to make connections, to make genuine connections with people because it's a transitional country or a transitional city rather. So people don't stay here for long periods of time. They're always leaving. So once you meet somebody, they're already halfway on their way out. So it was really hard at first to find people that I could really click with until I met one of my really good friends. Um, I actually met her the first day when I landed, and I literally just looked at her and I'm like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." I just complimented her, and I'm like, "Where are you from?" Because in my mind I'm like, "Nah, she's South African," but then she was like, "Oh, I'm from Kenya." And then ever
Okay.
since then we've been really good friends, and I don't think I would
Mm,
have honestly survived if it wasn't for her because she would like make me tag along to certain things, and like the Kenyan community is really strong here. It's very much they do things together. They support each other. If there's events, they're gonna show up, and they come in numbers. So she would always
Mm,
invite me, and I found a lot of pieces of home in the Kenyan community. So for me, that was like different because I thought I would have that in the South African community. Like I just
mm,
found that South Africans weren't as willing to connect as other
mm,
nationalities really were. So for the longest time, I never made any South African friends. Like, I think I only have one South African friend. Eventually, I made peace with it and I decided, like, okay, that's not how it's supposed to be for me. But yeah, there's still a
mm,
big community of South Africans here. And the way I cope with homesickness, I just try to get like some boerewors or biltong now and again because that's like the only thing, we connected by food as South Africans. We have a very unique culinary palette. So yeah,
mm,
I just try to do that. And then of course my friends really just help me out a lot. When it gets
mm,
lonely, I usually just, try to make a plan. And there's so much things to do and explore in Dubai. So I usually try to keep myself busy, and not
mm.
give myself too much room to miss home. So yeah,
Yes.
but at least I was grateful and fortunate enough to visit South Africa twice within my 4 years. So yeah, I
Okay.
will hopefully be visiting again soon. Hopefully.
Mm, mm. And then you mentioned you being surprised by the fact that, South Africans weren't very willing to build, connections with you, but you found home in the Kenyan community. In what way, like, what was the approach in terms of, connecting with you compared to South Africans? Like, what made it easier for you to connect with the Kenyans compared to South Africans?
I would say for the Kenyan community, like people were super friendly to me. Honestly, everybody that I met was super friendly and like really curious about where I'm from and very gentle.
Mm,
I felt very, very safe in some of the Kenyan spaces. Like I don't have any really negative experience with um I would say a Kenyan person or like I don't have anything
mm,
like that. They were just really very friendly, very genuine to me. And I think
mm,
they have that with each other also. Like I said,
mm,
they are unified. Like you'll mostly see they wear these bracelets, and that's how you can identify like a Kenyan bracelet. And okay, this one is Kenyan, and then you will greet them in Swahili or something like this. So they're very like
mm,
unified, and I feel like South Africans, yes, we about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I need to confirm this, but we're about like 200,000 in Dubai, in the
mm.
UAE as expat, 200,000
Okay.
South African. There's a big
Mm,
community. I just haven't really found many South Africans that are willing to
mm,
also connect. And I don't know, I think it might be because, when you're in South Africa, you're in South Africa, you're surrounded by South Africans. You don't really get the
mm,
opportunity to really connect with other cultures and religions and, learn other customs. So also what I wanted to say is I felt the homeness I'm talking about in the Kenyan community because there was a lot of similarities in our cultures. Like, for example, food
okay.
preferences. We both eat pap. They call it ugali,
Mm,
we call it pap. So little things like that
got
where
it.
our cultures kind of, came together. It was nice and it was exciting to be like, oh, you guys also share this. Like you guys also braai, but
Mm,
you call it nyama choma. We call it chisanyama.
okay.
Things like this where it was like, okay,
Yay.
we relate on this level. So yeah, that's how it was.
Okay. I love the fact that even in a different country, or in a different continent outside of the African continent, Africans are connecting, even though you're from different countries, but there's still a way of finding something in common and unifying. I
Yeah.
love that. I saw I saw TikTok this morning. It was a South African. She lives in the USA. She was speaking about South Africans, particularly moving to the USA and in a way shying away from the South African and not mingling with other South Africans. And I was just wondering, is it like that everywhere? Where as South Africans we kind of wanna not really connect with other South Africans on a level that we should be, and more trying to connect with people within that country. So it was very interesting what you said, where you said you found it more, um, it is less challenging for you to connect with the Kenyan community compared to the South African community. So have you experienced that with South African, particularly where you are shying away from the South Africanness and being more influenced by, the westernized culture?
Of course. Like, um, here, I don't know what it is or why it's like this, but I really don't um experience very curious South Africans to really know. Like for me, when I see a South African, I get excited. I'm like,
Mm,
I can speak Afrikaans too, because this is what I'm longing for, to skin it a little bit. But not everybody gets as excited, and you kind of have to respect it. You don't have any other choice. But it's like some people have a little bit of resistance to actually wanting to connect. And I don't know why that is. I really don't understand it myself. But yeah, it's a reality. It's a reality. But thankfully, there is a big community, and there's also people here that are very interested in the South African culture. So, especially in terms of music. So, there is quite a few places and venues and events that happen that's surrounded by the South African culture, or like, there's some piano events, and the people love it. People love our music
mm,
industry right now. And yeah, it's putting really good positive eyes on South Africa in this term.
okay. So you spoke about, people being very interested in our music, our culture, and what about the food? Because you're in the hospitality
Yeah.
space. um, What is that like? Like, do they have a
Yeah.
lot of South African
So,
dishes?
so there is not, I wouldn't say like, there's a lot of specialized restaurants. I haven't found anything where it's like an international menu and then there's some boerewors on the menu or some chakalaka, But I
Mm,
have found like specific South African spots. We have one here called Hyperama. It's like a diner. It's giving like spur vibes, warmthy vibes all at once. But yeah, you can get like
mm,
Gatsby's. You can even get a bunny chow, and you can get they even make
okay.
fit cook, so they try to make it a little bit elevated, but also give you the
Yeah.
same uh, authentic street food experience. So yeah, there's a lot of spots now
Mm,
coming up, and then yeah, people love boerewors. I mean, who doesn't, right? So that's something that we do
yes.
see quite often when it comes to like South African dishes, like must try dishes.
Mm,
It's that.
okay. And in terms of, I know you're in Dubai, it's a very different country compared to South Africa. And you mentioned in terms of, culture shock, you haven't had as many as people may have thought. But what stood out for you, in terms of you living there? What has stood out for you?
I think I don't think people are. In South Africa, the only way I can describe this to you, in South Africa, it's kind of part of us to go to the store and just say hi to a random auntie or uncle we see, and we all refer to that as auntie or uncle. Um,
Mm,
in here, like people don't randomly say hi to you. Like we will say hi to people in our culture in South Africa for no reason. Like to say, how are you?
mm,
And
mm,
that's normal for us. But here, like you don't say hi. Nobody says hi to you if they don't need anything. Like, it's so weird for people to come up to you and just like say hi, how are you doing, or have a great day. Like, you don't hear these
Mm,
things. So this was like a culture shock for me, and I kind of had to teach myself not to do that because it doesn't
mm,
get received well. It's like, why why are you talking to me? What do you want, kind of thing, you know? So yeah, that was
mm.
one thing I really had to unlearn because it was like it's pointless saying hi to certain people here, or like people are not as friendly as
Mm.
am used to, I would say.
Okay. Okay. I think people are taking it as you are invading my privacy. You don't know me. Why are you initiating a
Yes.
conversation?
And
I'm
privacy
just here
here,
to chat.
exactly. Privacy is a very big thing. Like, you're not allowed to take pictures of people, or like, yeah, you're not allowed to do anything, record anybody. Like, it's a no. Like, you will get fined or you will get jail time for that. It's not.
If you do it
You don't
without
do that
consent.
without consent, or you're just randomly taking pictures and these people's faces in view. Like, it's not allowed here.
Okay. I kind of like this.
I like that too, but if you're not aware, you can get yourself into trouble because in SA we don't care. We video everybody's faces, like
Yes,
nobody cares.
yes,
But yeah,
yes. That is true. And then you will see yourself going viral.
exactly. So here, luckily for the celebrities that end up here, there's no paparazzi for them.
So celebrities, people that are quite well known, they enjoy Dubai for the fact that they have privacy.
hmm Sorry, can you repeat your
Mm.
question?
Oh, I'm saying like people that are very well known celebrities, they appreciate that about Dubai. The fact that
Yeah,
there's a lot of privacy, they won't just be filmed.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
nice
Yeah,
because
that's
you
why
have
you'll see a
freedom.
lot of celebrities do come out here, and they can like almost live a normal life. Nobody's gonna be,
Mm,
of course, people that do recognize them and get excited and go up to them, but you can't just be taking pictures and then posting it online of them. So it's not okay.
mm, mm. Yeah, I'm sure they really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You, I know we spoke offline regarding you being involved in is it teaching or taking care of kids when you started living in Dubai. If you can just speak more about your experience regarding that.
Yes, so when I was new in Dubai, my first job, it was recreation. So I basically had to, work in the kids club. Um, in the hotel, usually five-star hotels will have these kids clubs to keep them entertained, when the parents are out or whatever the case is. So yeah, I was basically my job was to play with kids and entertain them and make sure that they're having a good time as well. That was really interesting because in South Africa, I did work as a, teaching assistant. So I
Mm,
did have like some experience with kids, and working with different age groups and stuff like that. What I would say is some kids are really naughty. Some kids do not have manners. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, it was
yes.
quite challenging to be able to look after, people's kids, especially not in a very structured environment where it's like they're on vacation, so they're not at school. In a school environment, you had authority to, discipline them, make sure that they're doing certain things at certain times. But with us, it was
Mm,
kind of like you can't really tell the kids what to do. It was kind of like
mm,
you playing with them if they don't want to listen or if they damage things, like there's nothing you can do. You
mm,
can't really discipline them. So yeah, that was my experience. I did meet some beautiful kids along the way, and some kids I will never forget. There was this group of Lebanese sisters, like they were all one
mm.
year apart from each other in terms of age. And yeah, they were a handful, super cute though.
Kind
Like
of
I fell
mob.
in I fell in love with them. Like they were so sweet. And they would come
Mm,
every day, running to me, Dionne, can we play? And then they would teach me Arabic actually. So they would literally draw words, write words for me and then try to teach me like some Arabic. It was so beautiful. That's like one
Mm.
of my favorite memories.
Yeah. So you spoke about the fact that when you're looking after kids, it was when they were on holiday. So it was like not aftercare, but you're just taking care of them while their parents were enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
But in terms of, so were they living in Dubai? No, they were just there on vacation.
Some would live in the UAE as a whole, or some would be on vacation.
Oh,
It's kind of like different for every person. Yeah.
oh, okay. So in terms of, I know you're not a parent as yet, but for somebody who traveled away from South Africa as a daughter, as an adult daughter, um, what would, I don't want to say advice, but what would your message be in terms of um, other daughters that want to travel abroad? And maybe the parents are just like, no, no, for you it's completely different because your parents were already open to traveling from the time you were little. But for others, what would your message be in terms of them wanting to move out of their hometown, out of the country? Um, yeah, what would your message be?
That is a really cool question. I
Mm,
think my message would be go for it. It's your
mm,
life. I know that's something, a very strong term to say that it is your life, but if there's one thing that I've realized on my journey, as much as I come from a very beautiful support group and I have amazing friends out here and back home that really hold me and support me and, nourish me, you only have yourself
mm,
at the end of the day. You just have you. Anything can happen. God forbid you lose all of your family at one time. This is the reality. It happens. But
mm,
you can only make the decisions for you, for your life. Go for it. You will learn so many beautiful things about yourself that you didn't know and you wouldn't have learned otherwise. You're going to open your mind and elevate your standards after defeating
mm,
every single challenge you face. You are going to be a better person. And yeah, I would say don't hold back. Start from wherever you need to start, but just do it. Even if you start with a
mm,
solo trip, going to Cape Town for the weekend, you know what I mean? Like, just do something for
mm,
yourself. Solo, you can do it, you can experience it. And, I even have some friends that have said to me, Dionne, I don't know how you do it. Like, I'm living in Dubai alone, but I don't like doing things alone. Like, for me, I can just go to a
mm,
restaurant and have dinner by myself or lunch by myself or go to the cinema alone.
mm,
A friend of mine is like,
mm,
I can't even be alone in a cinema. It feels awkward. So I'm like, just try it. Like, try baby steps. Maybe go to the mall alone and roam around. Take your earphones with you. Take a book. Like today, I have my book with me. You don't
mm,
have to do nothing and feel awkward. You are never alone because you are always with yourself. So yeah, that's my advice.
yes. You are never alone because you are always with yourself, and all you have is yourself because you
All you
take
have is
yourself
yourself.
everywhere. Yes,
Yeah.
and I think also in terms of you moving so far away from home, um, it it it's a main step. The fact that you are all that you have. So as you said, you need to go for it because it's your life. You need to narrate it the way you would like it to play out. And on that note, what have you learned through this 4 year journey so far?
You know, one thing I really learned that stands forefront in my mind is how important community is.
Mm,
And also along with that, how much sacrifice it takes to maintain community. Like I
mm,
think in our minds we think that it should be easy to have community, but it's always gonna be a sacrifice. You're always gonna have to give up something. Like
mm,
whether it's your friend, you're tired, but you wanna, maintain a relationship with friends or community. You have to give up a little bit of
mm,
sleep to go and make sure that you see your friends. or to show up for
mm,
the people that are there for you, that are showing up for you. So I think that's been the
mm,
most important because I didn't realize how much structure I had in my life in South Africa and how much I didn't have to question if I can rely on people.
mm,
And when I came out here, it's kind of like, okay, you're getting to know people from scratch, like you need to see who's gonna show up for you, who's not gonna show up for you, and then form relationships around
mm,
that, right? And I think
mm,
there's a lot of resistance in that also because people are like, oh, why should I sacrifice anything for community? Like, I don't need community, right? But we are
mm,
all we are not meant to be an island. Like, you can't do things alone. As much as
mm,
you can spend time alone and entertain yourself, spend time with yourself, make sure you are okay as an individual, but you cannot do
mm,
anything alone. Even simple thing as, like, for example, the tea that you drink. You didn't you you didn't consume this tea alone. Like, there's energy and effort and people that came from down the line to bring you this cup of tea. So there's a lot
mm,
of misconception about, like, community and how important community is. So yeah, that's one thing
mm,
I learned. Yeah, what else did I learn? I think the same thing I would say in terms of, like, my career choices. I've learned how important it is to network and to put yourself out there. And I wish I did it sooner. I wish I spent less time crying about how much I miss home and more time spending, like, networking and, like, meeting new people
mm,
in different industries and attending events that are gonna, broaden my horizons. So yeah, I learned
mm,
that a little bit late, but now I'm implementing that as well.
mm, mm. I love what you said in terms of what you learned about community and networking. I had this conversation, a, a conversation relating to this with a South African living in the USA, Lulu, in terms of, like, as African people, in terms of our culture, we taught community. Community is important. Given your example about how in South Africa, we can go to the shop, greet someone, ask them how are you, where we live, everyone knows everyone. Our community is very important to us. And then you come to networking, where it's a case of you need to be more bold, you need to be more independent, you need to be more proactive, you need to put yourself first, which is a very westernized way of thinking, and how we need to balance our African roots and our westernized way of thinking in order to survive in this world. And I think your lesson speaks to that in terms of how important community is to you and how important networking is. And the fact that you even mentioned you wish you had learned this earlier in terms of networking, and how you being away from home has taught you that, you know what, I need to actually put myself forward and stop crying about it, stop feeling sorry for myself, and I need to move forward. But of course, you need to balance, as you said,
Yeah.
community and networking. So I just found it so profound because I had a conversation that speaks to this. And she's living in the USA for, I hope I don't get this calculation wrong. I think it's 10 years. I hope
Wow.
I don't. It's 10 years or so, and she has a family there. So it's just very interesting that it doesn't only apply to a very westernized, driven country, but abroad, um, to countries that are moving in a very westernized way, to accommodate everyone else. It's just very interesting that people that come from very native backgrounds have to balance. We have to find that balance because often as adults, our childhood clashes in terms of our progression. So we need to find that balance. And it's very important. I'm always going to speak to the parents because, the podcast is about parenting in terms of us instilling that in our kids. that it's okay, we need to lay the foundation, but we also need to remember that they also need to pivot in this world. So we need to also find that balance between, our traditional roots and being a bit more westernized in our thinking and action, which is very difficult. So I always
I think,
commend us.
yeah, I mean, like you said, you always gonna speak to the parents. I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but I
Mm,
am an auntie, a very proud
yes,
auntie, and I'm a
yes,
godmother. So, I would always like give my nieces this guidance. Like, even though yes, we have to move into this, we have to put ourselves into this westernized spaces, and kind of like even though the mold doesn't really fit quite well because we are not Westerners.
yes.
I would always say it's important to decolonize your mind, to not be
Mm-hmm.
conditioned by what what we have been whitewashed to think is true is
Yes.
not actually true. We have to find it
Mm,
within ourselves about where we are, who we are. That's the most important thing. You can't, because this world can easily sway your identity. Like if you're somebody that's not
yes.
strong in who you are and where you come
Mm,
from, and you don't have that support, which a lot of people don't have the opportunity of having that support. But it's so
mm,
important to be sovereign about who you are. And I would
mm,
always teach my nieces that when they eventually grow up, like, know who you are. You are the only one that can
mm,
decide who you are. Doesn't matter what anybody
yes.
says, you know you, and that's enough.
Oh, auntie, auntie of the year, auntie of the century. I love that. I really, really love it. And I think it's also because you know who you are. Even in terms of your heritage, you know the bloodline that runs through you. You know that your ancestors traveled, and the fact that the path that you're on isn't just by mistake. It was seeds that were planted before that. So I love the fact that you're also instilling that in your nieces. Yeah, I commend you for that.
Thank you
Oh,
so
I
much.
love this conversation.
No, it's just meant to be. Everything, nothing is
Hmm.
by coincidence.
Yes, yes, that is very, very true. Um, what would your message be to parents that want to move abroad to a country that's quite different to South Africa in terms of culture, but also not just them, but also moving the kids? Um, what would what would your message be? Specifically, like the Dubai or the just in terms of a country that's very different to South Africa. What would your message be?
I think, okay, of course, there's a lot of things to consider in terms of like um, environment and way, especially when there's kids involved. Like as an individual, you can kind of figure it out as you go. But I feel like kids really do
Mm,
still need structure. Um, and they need routine. So if you can easily if you have the lifestyle that is easily adjustable and you can fix a routine and everything will be okay, even though you're in a different environment, I think that's important to consider. But I would definitely say do it.
mm,
Like, I know for myself, one day I will be one of those parents that's like country hopping. Hopefully, God hears my prayer. But I'll definitely be
yes.
raising my kids in different spaces because I know it makes you different. It makes you automatically see people and the world in a different lens. So I would, as young as possible, I would say let you allow your kids to travel with you. Don't leave them at home. Let them see as much of the world as possible. Let them see as many different cultures as possible. Educate them about the different people there are in the world, because this will allow them to be able to be more adaptable in our very fast changing world. And it will help them to
Mm,
also be understanding towards people and other cultures, because we want to raise empathetic children. We don't want to raise narcissistic, all of these blanket,
mm,
what do you call them, fiery words that they're using now. So yeah, I would say that.
mm,
That would be my advice.
mm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for dropping so many gems. Um, This was a very delightful, insightful um, conversation. It is a very aligning conversation.
Thank you
Um,
so much for having me as well.
it is,
And I really appreciate what you're doing as well. Like this platform is amazing and it's really nice to have um very broad perspectives on what you talk about. I mean, you broke me on even though I'm not a parent, so it really shows that,
mhm,
it takes a village to raise kids.
mhm,
Yeah. So
mhm. It
yeah,
really
please
does.
continue what you're doing as well. Like I love this. I love this for us and our people.
Amazing.
We need to express what's on our hearts and yeah. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. I wanted to say that I firmly believe that even though the podcast is centered around parenting, but we are all parents in some way. Whether you gave birth to the child, whether you adopted the child, whether you're an auntie and uncle, we are all parents. We are all pouring into kids in some way. So everyone has a say.
Correct.
Um, that's just my opinion. I know some people are like, oh no, if you don't have kids, you don't have a right to say anything about parenting, but my view is just totally different. Because I feel like everyone adds value in a different way,
Yeah.
different perspectives. So yes, thank you so much for being on the platform,
Thank you. You're welcome.
and thank you to the
Thanks.
listeners and
Until
viewers,
next
because this
time.
is the first. Yes, because this is the first visual. This is the first video that will be out on YouTube. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow, just press all the buttons.
Comments.
Yes, comment. Um, so yes, and you can also listen to the podcast on your other podcast platforms where there's no visuals. There are other episodes regarding this topic. Regarding us embracing our African traditions and cultures in a Westernized society, which will be uploaded from the 1st of March, which is when episode 1 will be out. So you guys can check that out. Thank you so much for being on the visual podcast, which will be on YouTube again.
Thank you.
And until next time, let's continue living with intent. Bye bye.
Bye.